Continia Document Capture is a paid Business Central accounts payable, also known as AP, extension that automates and streamlines your current manual invoice processing. Document Capture reduces errors and improves AP efficiency by automating the creation of purchase invoices within Business Central. Copies of the supplier invoices are emailed to a predetermined AP email address, which is then linked to Business Central. From here, optical character recognition, also known as OCR, will scan the incoming supplier invoice, extract the information, and then display in the Ready to Register page. This invoice can then either be automatically or manually matched with corresponding purchase order or goods receipted document lines within Business Central. Once fully matched, the purchase invoice is created, which can then be posted to close down the original purchase order. This demonstration will cover the importing of the supplier invoice, the processing of the invoice, including mapping of the header fields and lines, the matching of the invoice to either the purchase order or goods receipted document lines within Business Central, and finally, the posting of the purchase invoice. So here we are on the homepage of Business Central. We can see here we have the Continia Document Capture Activities Fast tab, and then within this Fast tab we have these four options: the pending OCR, ready to import, ready to register, and assign to me. We can see here I've already sent the invoice to Business Central. If I click on the one, we can then see we have a purchase invoice and credit memo document ready to be imported. So we're going to click on the one, and we can see the information here of that particular invoice. So the date and time it was sent, the email address, and the email subject. We can show the file here, so we can show the original PDF. We can delete the file, or we can import the file. So we're going to import the file into Business Central. Once it's been imported, it then moves into the Ready to Register page in Business Central. So here we can see the invoice detail. So we know it's an open status, it's a purchase invoice, and we have a match status as automatic. At the bottom here, we have the document header. So this is all the information relating to the invoice. And then on the right-hand side here, we can see the invoice information. So invoice number, invoice date, original order, and then the item codes and the item lines with the subtotals and the totals in the bottom right. Once we click on the value for the document header, we can see that it's already picked up the invoice 1001. If this was incorrectly selected, we can left click on the right hand side on the document template, and then we can just drag a box, and then it will start to read the values off the invoice. Going forward, that's then saved as a template. So as long as the format of the invoice is the same from the supplier, it will always pick up the invoice number. We also have the invoice date, the due date, which is based on the payment terms. We've got a contact, so this is the person that can approve the document if you've got approval switched on. You've got the original order number, and then you've got the amount, so excluding VAT, VAT amount, and the amount including the VAT, so the total for the order. Again, all these can be selected, so if it's an incorrect value, we can just draw a box around the total, and then it will always be saved, ready for the next invoice. At the bottom here, we have the comment section. So if there are any errors in relation to the totaling or the matching, you'll see some red text at the bottom. As we can see at the moment, this is complete. There are no errors. If I go up to the document and then the document card, we can see now we have the line information at the bottom. So we have the header information, which is the same as on the first page, and then the line information at the bottom. So again, what we can do is we can map the item to the item number within Business Central, and we can also draw the boxes around the item code, the description, and then when we recognize the fields, it knows that the item codes within this column should show at the bottom here with your item lines. As you can see, it's also picked up the third line, even though this is not an item, so we can actually remove this. So if I click on the description, click on the three dots, you have this required field here. So if I switch this on and then recognize the fields, you can see that because the description is part of the description column, this will remain. However, if I turn this off and go to the unit cost and do the same, you can now see that the no warranty has been removed. And that's because we said that the unit cost has to be required. And when it checks that line entry, there's no unit cost. And so it will remove that line. So once we've mapped everything on the ready to register page, we can then start to match the actual lines against the purchase order within Business Central. So if I just come off this page and we go to purchase orders, we can see here we've got the purchase order with the header information at the top and then our line information. So these are the two items. And if I go back to the ready to register and I click on match lines, we can now see the order lines and the document lines. So the document lines are relating to the invoice, the order lines are relating to the purchase order within Business Central. And if you've already seated the lines in Business Central, these two lines will show at the top here. So once we're happy with everything, we can come out of the page, we can register, and this is now going to create the purchase or invoice within Business Central. So here it's given us a new invoice number. It's got all of the header information, including the dates, the vendor invoice number, and then we have our two item lines at the bottom, and we have the comment line, which is showing that it's linked now to the purchase order within Business Central. So we can now post the invoice. Because I've got approval switched on, it means now that someone has to approve this order before it will be posted. And that's the end of the demo.